Swayne.
Deputy Speaker, I congratulate the Honourable Lady, the member for Newcastle on Tyne. She caught my eye earlier. She was cheering the Chancellor with such enthusiasm, even more so than her colleagues who were making a pretty good fist of it. I recall cheering a Chancellor during a budget speech.
Did you get a job?
And then, notwithstanding
Where's your job, Deputy?
notwithstanding the misgivings that I had, nevertheless, I cheered with gusto. And then somewhat later, I found myself on a train to Oxford to defend the government in the annual union debate of no confidence, and received the news on the train that the Chancellor I had been cheering had been sacked. Not a particularly good wicket to go out to bat on.
Premonition.
But I'm confident that those honourable members who cheered today will fare no better. Yeah. Because the economy is still reeling from the last budget that the Chancellor delivered, with her wholesale assault on enterprise, on family undertakings, on initiative, and on every employer in the land. But in fact, business confidence had collapsed significantly before that budget. It had collapsed in the summer when the government warned everyone that things were so bad that they were going to have to get very, very much worse. And as a consequence, we discovered later, when the budget was delivered, that things were even worse than we had imagined. But then the government announced after that budget that they'd stabilised the economy. It was over. They weren't coming back for any more. And they trumpeted throughout the last year the fact that we had the highest growth rate in the G7. Madam Deputy Speaker, that's what they inherited. Yeah. But as their monstrous regiment has proceeded, the reality is that that growth rate has become more and more anemic. There's no getting away from the fact that last month the economy shrank. And then this summer, they repeated the same mistake. All we got throughout the summer was horror story after horror story of kites being flown, of ghastly taxes that might be imposed upon us. Most unwelcome for businesses planning investment and for anyone planning to take on workers. These interventions move some markets and make others absolutely sclerotic. It's a disaster. And when I challenged the Chief Secretary last week with the example of Hugh Dalton, who properly resigned over a budget leak, I was astounded that the Chief Secretary admitted at the dispatch box that he had no idea what I was talking about. Isn't that extraordinary? And against this background, there's always that chilling presence of the huge increase in trade union power that is part of the bill that is currently before Parliament. But their anti-growth agenda is only half the story. The other half of the problem, I thought, was excellently expounded by the father of the House. The reality is that the government's bloated expenditure plans have overshot by 4%. And we have this enormous growing benefits bill. The disaster was that the government withdrew from its attempts to provide some modest restraint in the growth of that bill. And as my right honourable friend says, we now face a bill running annually at £300 billion, £212 billion of which is for economic activity for people who are under no obligation to work. 4.3 million people, growing at a rate of 130,000 per month. It is completely unsustainable. And it's to be paid for. It's to be paid for by increasing taxes. Taxes that disproportionately attack those people who are already contributing the most. The entrepreneurs, the investors, the very people who can take their investment, their vision, their skills, their employment elsewhere to where the business environment is rather more friendly. And they're doing it in droves, and they're doing it to such an extent that even the business secretary has remarked on it and spotted it. We are facing a situation increasingly where there will be fewer and fewer people able to pay for the bills of this increasing burden of people who are economically inactive. So as I reflect on the fact that as we approach this, I do wish the honourable gentleman would be quiet. He's insufferable. As we approach government activity accounting for 45% of the economy, I always thought that, no, I'm not going to give way, I've reached my peroration. I always thought that the result would be the totalitarian hand clenched in anger. Actually, and I read, the road to serfdom. Actually, it's turned out very, very different. It's not the totalitarian hand clenched in anger. It's his hand open, dishing out largesse. It's turned out not to be so much the road to serfdom as the road to penury.
Cat Smith.